Good evening. Is it unconstitutional to present the budget of a state without the speech of the governor? I repeat my statement, rather a question. Is it unconstitutional to present the budget at the state level without the address, without the speech of the governor? That is the point we are going to discuss now. This point has come up today for the discussion because in the state of Telangana on March 7th, 2022, the budget is going to be presented. So when you observe any state in the country, before the presentation of the budget, the governor will deliver the speech, the governor will address the state legislature. So this is a particular norm that is happening. For that matter, even at the central level, before the presentation of the budget, the president addresses both the houses of the parliament. Now the point is that this year, meaning for the budget which is presented on March 7th, 2022, in the state of Telangana Assembly, the budget session is beginning without the address of the governor. Is it unconstitutional to present a budget like that? We'll be discussing this particular point. In order to understand this one, we need to focus on certain other things. First point is that whether there is any session mentioned in the constitution on the name of the budget. The answer is no. Constitution has mentioned about the session, not about the budget session, monsoon session or winter session. Clear? This is the point number one. For that matter, the word budget itself is not mentioned in the constitution. It is mentioned as the annual financial statement. Point number one. Now, number two, whenever you are initiating the session, the constitution has permitted the governor to summon and prorogue the sessions. The constitution has given the permission and power to the governor to summon and prorogue a session. Summon means beginning of a session, prorogue means ending of a session. Now the point is that in the month of October 2021, when the session has begun with respect to Telangana state legislature, that session was summoned by the governor of Telangana. But after that one, the sessions of the state legislature have come to an abrupt end and they were not prorogued. They were not prorogued, meaning it is not ended by the governor. So now the point is that, so we crossed this year 2021 and we entered into the year 2022. Under the Constitution of India, every year the first session of the legislature must begin with the address of the governor. This is what is mentioned in the Constitution. Now the point is that whether this particular session, which is going to be started on March 7th, 2022 in Telangana legislature, should it be considered as the first session? Definitely the first session, but technically this session should be treated as the continuation of the previous session of 2021, which was not prorogued in October 2021. So government is using this logic. That is the reason why, since the previous session was not prorogued, this session cannot be considered as a new session. This session is not being summoned. This is the continuation of the previous year's session. This is what the argument is made by the government. But because of the various reasons, there is a huge gap between the government of Telangana and the Raj Bhavan. So this is the reason why the government does not want the governor to come and deliver the speech in the state legislature. Come what may, governor is disappointed, and most of the people who go with the constitution, though it is technically correct on the part of the government, many critics are saying that So this is improper. It is nothing but the disrespecting the office of Raj Bhavan, disrespecting Raj Bhavan, disrespecting the office of the governor, and not permitting governor to address the first session in the new year. It should be considered as unconstitutional. But technically, constitutionally, this is not unconstitutional. This is considered to be the continuation of the previous year's session. Government is going by this particular logic, and the government also cited some of the examples that occurred in some state assemblies and also in the parliament earlier. But come what may, what is expected from the government and also the Raj Bhavan is that these two institutions must work in coordination. Obviously, they are working for the welfare of the people. If there is a gap, that gap has to be bridged for the welfare of the people at the state level. But if the gap is widened, that is not good for the state, and that should be understood by both Raj Bhavan as well as the government, which is headed by none other than the chief minister. And before concluding, I would like to show you the respective articles, what is mentioned in the constitution. We have already discussed this in our regular polity classes. Look at this. At the commencement of the first session after each general election to the legislative assembly, and at the commencement of the first session each year. So obviously we are in the year 2022. Clear? We are in the month of March, and on March 7th, 2022, the budget session is beginning. Clear? And this is considered as the first session in this year, but technically the government is saying that it is a continuation of the previous year's session, and it is not a new session, so there is no necessity of the governor's address here, right? And the technicality is that last year, meaning October 2021 session, was not prorogued. If it is not prorogued, there is no necessity to summon the session again, and government is going by this technicality, government is going by this particular logic. Clear? So, but otherwise, the first session of each year, the governor shall address the legislative assembly, or in the case of a state legislative, in the case of a state having a legislative council, both houses assembled together and inform the legislature of the causes of its summons. Very, 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 very important one. And please remember the respective article. It happened in Telangana, it may happen in any state, and basically the reason is the gap between the government headed by the chief minister and Raj Bhavan. Am I clear? So these type of points are very, very, very important for the examination point of view. Whatever the state, whichever the state you may belong to, these points are really important, especially in the main examination. When you are writing, you are expected to mention the article numbers. That will fetch you additional marks. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next session.